going, YouTube? Happy Friday, and you're staring at me instead of at my windshield today for a bit of a change of pace, and also because I've got material and detritus on my clothes from the delivery I just completed here in central Wisconsin. I should say east central Wisconsin, not too far-ish from Green Bay, up in the Oshkosh, Fond du Lac, Appleton region. And it was a load I swore I would never do again. It was a floor load cottonseed delivery. And it's one of those things where the fault is entirely mine. I didn't look at the commodity close enough or read the information close enough to make sure I knew what I was getting myself into. It wasn't until I got the rate com when I realized I had severely screwed up. And I was like, oh God, I swore I'd never do one of these because the cleanup is a pain. It's just so awful. And it is, except for this time. And I want to give a big shout out to the delivery location, CP Feeds, up in Wrightstown, Wisconsin, because as much of a surprise as it is to me that north central Wisconsin even does anything with cottonseed, these folks have the right tools to enable drivers to deal with the aftermath of a floor load cotton situation in a dry van trailer, which is to say they have an extremely powerful air compressor going to a very big hose and a really nice long metal pipe that they fashioned into a wand, essentially. And so I spent about, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes just blasting the snot out of my trailer, hitting every nook, every cranny, every crevice, every vertical E-track, the roof, every slat inside and outside of my scuff liners, high, low, hi-ho the Dario, everywhere in my trailer, to the point where my trailer is probably cleaner now than it has been since before the first time I did a cotton load. So I want to say a big thank you to them, and if you're ever doing a floor load cottonseed delivery to CP Feeds in Wrightstown, Wisconsin, cleanup is going to be a lot easier than it is anywhere else, where you have to sweep and scrape and pick and whatever else. At least that was my prior experience. So given the availability of that tool at that location, were I to come across another opportunity to do cottonseed to Wrightstown, I would do it because the cleanup is going to be far superior of an experience than it was the first time I did a cottonseed load, because that air gun really just made it so much easier for me to get that stuff out of my trailer. And the people there that I dealt with, the receiving manager, real nice guy. We were cutting up actually a little bit because I basically drove overnight to get there this morning in order to be able to get that load off the trailer, have time to clean it out, and then be able to get home today at a reasonable time. And so that's game, set, and match. But here's the funny thing. There was a truck ahead of me this morning when I arrived. So they said, okay, well, we got one truck ahead of you. Go on back there, park by the dock, and then as soon as he clears out, go ahead and back in and get you loaded. Okay, fine, no problem. And then I went back in the sleeper and I fell asleep. Only like an hour and a half of a nap, but by the time I woke up and realized, oh crap, the other guy is gone, I need to be getting on the dock, get unloaded. So I went ahead, got on the dock, and I called over to the office and said, hey, I'm sorry, I fell asleep. He's like, oh, don't worry, we got you. We saw you on the security camera. Our guy is just moving the truck real quick. As soon as he's done, he's going to come unload you, and then you'll be on your way. Okay, no problem. And sure enough, once he finished doing his truck movement, he went and got on the skid steer with the cotton bucket, and he scooped it all out. And then I got in there with the airline and just blasted the trailer out, cleaned it out real good. And then when I got back to the receiving office to get paperwork, I was talking with the manager again, and he said, he was telling me, I was this close to telling you. Well, first of all, what he said was, well, there's Sleeping Beauty. And we were laughing about that. And then the next thing he said, this is the really funny part. I was this close to telling you when you called in that it was Saturday morning that we're closed. It's like, we don't work on Saturday. We don't unload on Saturdays. just to see what you would do, what you would say. And I'm standing there, I'm laughing, like, dude, you should have, just to see what the reaction would have been, because I know for a fact I would have been so, woolly-headed that I would have believed you, been like, oh crap, I'm so screwed right now. And then once I caught on, we would have had a really good laugh about it. So we had a good time cutting up about that. And it's always fun when you can have a good time with the folks that you're delivering to me. I've got cotton snot and half a sweater in my chest, it feels like. I've got cotton fiber in my hat still. I blew it out pretty good in my shirt. In my shorts, probably where I don't want it to be, but I'll get on down here to Fond du Lac, get the Loves, grab a shower, and then go on home from there. But still, it's always good when any driver can just cut up and crack jokes with the folks they're either picking up from or delivering to. It just makes the day easier, and it brings a little bit of levity into an otherwise relatively monotonous and mundane situation. And it tells me that the folks I'm working with, that I'm dealing with, that I'm delivering to, picking up from, they've got good attitudes. They can put a positive spin on things. They can make the best of the situation. And if things are happening or there's problems, these are folks that are going to be adaptable. They're going to be people I can work with to get situations addressed. If I'm having problems, I can talk to them and get it figured out. If there are problems, I can talk to me, we can get it figured out. That's the kind of situation that I want to be in as a trucker, because so much of everything today is impersonal. It's all through apps, it's all through web portals, it's all through a disconnect between yourself and an actual human being. And so when I am able to work with a good human being that I can also crack some jokes with, it really does make my day better. So I hope if anyone else does a load to CP feeds, that you have the same experience I did. You just have a good time with the folks in the office, and that the air hose is working, and you can get your trailer blasted out and get on about your day. So that's my hope. As for me, again, like I said earlier in this video, if I had an opportunity to deliver to that location again, I would, just because I know that I'll be able to get my trailer cleaned out after the fact, and be able to go on, if I needed to, like right to my next load, and just keep things moving. But today is unusual. Like I don't have a load booked. I'm not going to book anything probably until Monday, because I've got plans for the weekend. I want to be home, so I'm basically just going to eat the cost of deadheading home, because I've had a good couple of weeks, so I'm not hurting. Fuel's paid, truck's paid, insurance is paid. Just got to schedule my trailer payment for the month, and I'm basically, all my bills for the month are met, and I'm still very comfortably in the black. So I'm having a real hard time saying boo about how things are going right now, because even though fuel is inching higher, and expenses are not where I would like them to be, and I know I've got maintenance things I got to do to the truck and the trailer. I've got to get some tires checked out. I got to get some suspension on the trailer checked out. I've probably got to get a couple inspections done just to make sure that if I get stopped for the upcoming safety week, I'm going to be okay. And I'm sure I will be, but it's one of those things where, better safe than sorry. Just stuff like that just needs to get done, needs to get taken care of, and that costs money. But the money to pay those bills is there. In a lot of ways, I'm actually doing much better now on my own as an independent motor carrier than I was as a lease agreement owner-operator with another carrier. So even though things are still really kind of up in the air as to which way the economy can go, which way energy prices can go, which way a lot of things can go, for the moment, for the interim, for the time being, things are where I need them to be, more or less, to be able to sustain my business, to be able to sustain my livelihood, and recover from my extremely poor end to 2022, and get back to where I was a year ago, essentially, which was a very healthy position to be in when I left GP Transco, bought this trailer, and then started up with my last carrier, who I still will not name just because of the issues that they have been experiencing. I want to be respectful of them and give them a chance to recover and turn things around without putting them on blast. Because if I was having issues and people were dealing with me and they didn't want to deal with me because they weren't sure which way I was going to go, like, I would hope that they would at least have the courtesy to not name me to someone I might want to work with as someone that's untrustworthy, unreliable, or questionable. Just so I have that chance to get the ship right and to get things done. Like, I don't want to be disrespectful to that entity, because there's a lot of carriers that are failing right now due to poor business practices, and some of those same carriers, they have a really good opportunity, a really good chance to just make a few adjustments, tighten some things up, and they can get right back on track and get right back in the black and get back into good business practices. But you don't have that opportunity if you're being trashed on YouTube or Instagram or Twitter or X, whatever they call it, or TikTok or any other kind of social media situation, or Fleet Guard or whatever it is. You want, unless it's a truly heinous situation, like they held a load hostage, or a broker didn't pay out appropriately, or there was issues that one side or the other just did not satisfy the terms of the agreement, then it's one thing. Okay, this is a legal problem, we need to deal with this in a legal capacity. Mistakes get made, stuff happens. It's important to go through a process first rather than just going right to social media, putting them on blast, because that might have been someone making a mistake, and then someone else comes in and gets it fixed. But once you put something out there and people see it, it's out there. That's it. I mean, women who are only fools models right now are learning that the hard way, because they're finding out that people are getting onto that website, they're hacking those websites essentially, or finding ways to extract that content. They're just putting it out there. Paid content's being put out there for free, and these women who are, shall we say, flexible workers, as it were, are suffering as a result, because they're being harvested without the compensation that they otherwise expected to receive for what they're doing. And while there's really not a whole lot of similarity between Only Fools and motor carriers, according to Uncle Sam, both are essentially viable business options, because as long as, whether you're a motor carrier or an Only Fools model, if you're paying your taxes quarterly and then your yearly whatever, as long as Uncle Sam's getting his cut, there's not a whole lot of boo he's going to say, because he's getting his money. It's when he doesn't get his money, that's when you start having problems. But if you're in business and suddenly your business is not doing what it should be doing or being taken advantage of, you got to take care of that. You got to make adjustments. Now, for the Only Fools girls, it's a different story, because they don't have, if that's all they've got, then they basically have to reboot their lives when they realize that they're just being harvested for free. Whereas for motor carriers and brokers, if we're working with folks who are not, satisfying their terms of the agreement, then we all start losing money, and then things start getting real bad real quick, and then and the legal process through there ends up hurting a lot more folks. Yellow Freight is a good example. They had very poor business practices apparently, and now 30,000 folks were essentially put out of work for a while, or permanently in some cases, and the company that was almost 100 years old no longer exists. It's now being picked apart by other carriers and other entities for what they can get out of the carcass, as it were. So, bit of a rabbit trail there. It didn't really kind of thematically tie in, so I'll just go ahead and cut that off right there and say thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you, YouTube, down the road.